The night was restless, the city drowned under heavy rain. It fell in sharp sheets, hammering against rooftops, flooding gutters, and crashing down on the sleek black Rolls-Royce that glided through the storm. Each raindrop struck the polished surface like a desperate knock, but the man inside remained unmoved. Richard Sterling sat back in the plush leather seat, the storm outside meaning little to him. He was a man so wealthy his fortune could buy entire nations, yet at that very moment his mind was not on the road ahead. His eyes lingered coldly on the rear-view mirror, drawn again and again to the shadow of the man he had just left behind in the storm. That man had pleaded, his words almost swallowed by the rain. "Please, sir, help me. My nurse is waiting at the hospital. I can't die here on the road. My chest hurts. My legs, they're paralyzed. I can't move." His voice had been raspy and weak, yet full of desperate hope. Tears had mixed with the rain on his wrinkled cheeks, as he tried, with trembling arms, to push his battered wheelchair onto the road. It was a pitiful sight, his small frame struggling against the wind and rain as though the heavens themselves had turned against him. His cry rang out, clear and trembling, "I'll die if I don't get to a hospital." But Richard's face had twisted in nothing but disgust. To him, the old man was nothing more than an inconvenience. "Drive!" he barked, his tone sharp enough to cut through the quiet hum of the car's insulated interior. Without hesitation, the Rolls-Royce lurched forward. What followed was horrifying. A sharp thud split the night, followed by the metallic groan of steel striking steel. The luxury car slammed against the old man's wheelchair, sending him sprawling into the cold, wet asphalt. A ragged cry tore from his throat as pain ripped through his body. The rain pounded harder, masking the sound of his suffering. Richard wasn't done. He ordered the driver to stop, and with deliberate cruelty lowered the window. The storm sprayed the edges of the soft interior, but Richard ignored it. His eyes narrowed on the broken figure on the ground. "Get lost, you filthy old man!" he spat. "You're disgusting. All of you are the same, leeches, nothing but parasites. Get out of my sight." Then, with a sneer, he rolled the window back up. The engine roared, and the Rolls-Royce vanished into the storm, leaving the old man bleeding and broken, his pleas drowned by the endless rain. But fate had other plans. A young man named Chidi had seen everything. Frozen in shock at first, he quickly rushed toward the old man. His heart pounded as he knelt beside him, gently lifting him from the rain-soaked ground. Blood had already begun to darken the old man's clothes, and the sight made Chidi's stomach twist. "Sir, are you all right?" he stammered, his voice filled with worry. "That man, he was horrible. I'm so sorry you went through that." The old man groaned, his voice strained with pain. "Please, the General Hospital, my nurse. She's waiting." His words were fragile, fading, but filled with urgent need. Chidi hesitated for only a heartbeat. He had an important appointment, one that could not easily be delayed. But how could he walk away from a man in this condition? Compassion outweighed everything. "Of course, sir," he said firmly. "Don't worry, I'll get you there safely." With careful strength, he lifted the old man into his small car. As they drove through the flooded streets, the windshield wipers struggled to keep pace with the storm. Chidi glanced into the mirror, his voice gentle. "Sir, do you have any family I can call? Someone to meet you at the hospital?" The old man shook his head weakly, rainwater still clinging to his thinning hair. "No one," he murmured. That single word carried the weight of a lifetime of loneliness. Chidi's chest tightened with sympathy. He drove faster, his grip firm on the wheel. By the time they reached the hospital, his urgency had only grown. He burst through the entrance, calling out, "This man needs help. He was hit by a car. His legs, he says they're paralyzed. His chest hurts badly." Nurses rushed forward without hesitation, guiding the old man onto a stretcher. As they prepared to wheel him away, The man reached out, his frail fingers brushing Chidi's arm. "It's all right, son," he whispered, voice faint but steady. "My nurse works here. Just find her." Chidi nodded quickly, relaying the message. Within moments, a nurse appeared, her face paling as soon as she saw him. "Sir," she gasped, her voice trembling with shock. "What happened?" She clutched his hand as they hurried him into a room, her touch full of concern. Chidi, glancing at the clock, realized his appointment could no longer wait. "Sir, I hope your nurse takes good care of you. I must go now." He turned to leave, but the old man's voice, though weak, carried enough strength to stop him. "You didn't even ask for my number, son. Won't you call to check on me?" Chidi froze, guilt washing over him. "Oh, sir, forgive me," he said quickly, fumbling for a pen. "It was the rush. Let's exchange numbers. I'll check on you, I promise." They traded numbers, and only then did Chidi dash off, the rain still raging outside. As soon as he left, the nurse leaned close to the old man, her worry growing deeper. "Chief Ernest, why are you like this? What caused this sudden pain, this paralysis, and why? Wasn't your driver here? Why didn't your car bring you?" Her voice was thick with confusion and alarm. The man, Chief Ernest, or as some respectfully called him, Chief Narn, answered with calm steadiness. He urged her not to worry, explaining that he had been carefully observing something important, and at last he had uncovered what he had been seeking. The nurse was still shaken, her mind struggling to grasp his words, yet she obeyed his quiet strength. What few people knew was that Chief Ernest was no ordinary man. He was a billionaire, his company's name known in households across the nation. But he chose to live discreetly, away from the spotlight. Since the death of his beloved wife more than 10 years ago, he had poured all his energy into his only daughter and the empire he had built. Rarely appearing in interviews or public events, he preferred solitude and peace. Still, whenever he stepped into the public eye, it was always for a worthy reason, for his friends, partners, or those in need. To the people who knew him, Chief Ernest was more than a businessman. He was a lifeline. His philanthropy stretched across borders, funding schools, hospitals, orphanages, and affordable housing. He gave food to the hungry, shelter to the poor, and education to children who otherwise would have been forgotten. Families across the nation owed him hope. His generosity was boundless, his compassion unmatched, and countless lives carried his invisible fingerprints. In contrast stood Richard Sterling. Once a boy raised in poverty, he had known hunger and hardship. But the higher he climbed, the colder he grew. Now a respected manager in the city's most prominent bank, Richard wore arrogance like a crown. He sneered at the weak, dismissed his parents, and belittled colleagues. He went through assistants as though they were disposable, firing 8 in 6 months for the smallest mistakes. His obsession with wealth consumed him, and he cared only for clients of means, ignoring or exploiting the poor whenever possible. And yet, around Rose, the daughter of Chief Ernest, Richard played the role of a charming gentleman. His love was a lie, his smiles a mask. His real goal was the fortune behind her family name. He hid his true character whenever she was near, only to reveal his cruelty the moment she turned her back. But what Richard did not know was that Chief Ernest had already seen through him. The billionaire father, quiet and watchful, had uncovered Richard's deceit. He chose not to confront him yet, waiting, observing, learning more with every passing day. Richard's past was littered with evidence of his self-centeredness, favoring material wealth over meaningful connections. Former partners had voiced grievances about his callousness and lack of compassion. Yet Rose remained unaware of his duplicity. Though fully aware of her wealthy heritage, Richard possessed only a vague notion of who her father was and couldn't identify him by sight. Later that evening, Chidi picked up his phone and dialed Chief Ernest's number. After a few rings, Chief Ernest answered. "Hello," came the familiar voice. "Sir, it's Chidi. How are you feeling? Chidi asked with concern. Ah, Chidi, son. I'm doing much better, thank you. The nurse is taking good care of me and I'm making progress. Chief Ernest replied warmly. That's wonderful to hear, sir. I was really worried about you earlier, Chetty said. No need to worry, Chidi. I'm in good hands. Now tell me, did you manage to attend to that urgent matter at work? Chief Ernest inquired. Yes, sir, I did. I got to the office on time. It was a presentation, and the presentation went smoothly. Everything is fine, Chi assured him. I'm so glad to hear that, Chidi. I wouldn't want my situation to cause you any trouble at work, Chief Ernest said gratefully. It was no trouble at all, sir. Helping you was the right thing to do. Actually, I was thinking of coming to visit you at the hospital, she offered. Oh, that's very kind of you, Chidi, but it's quite late now. You should go home and get some rest. You've already done so much for me today, Chief Ernest responded. Are you sure, sir? I really don't mind. Che persisted. Absolutely, Chidi. I'm fine. Really. We'll talk again soon over the phone. Thank you once again for bringing me here. I truly appreciate your help, Chief Ernest said sincerely. All right, sir. Please take care of yourself. I'll check on you tomorrow, Chidi said. You take care too, Chidi. Good night, Chief Ernest replied. Good night, sir, Che said before hanging up. That same night, Rose visited Richard at his house, expecting the familiar routine she had grown accustomed to. As she approached the gate, she was greeted not by the usual gateman, but by a new face. The unfamiliar man swung the gate open and said, Good evening, ma'am. Rose paused, slightly thrown off. Good evening. Where's the usual gateman? Theone, who's been here for years? The new gateman shrugged casually. I'm not sure, ma'am. I was just hired recently. They told me the previous one had to leave suddenly. Rose nodded, though a flicker of unease crossed her mind. She stepped inside and immediately noticed another changer. New cook was bustling about in the kitchen, chopping vegetables with unfamiliar efficiency. The previous cook, a fixture in Richard's home for as long as Rose could recall, was nowhere in sight. When Richard emerged into the living room, Rose couldn't hold back her curiosity. Richard, what's going on? There's a new gateman and a new cook. Where are the old staff? Richard glanced. Up from his phone, his expression calm and unconcerned. Oh, the gateman had to travel for a family emergency. Something urgent came up, I think. And the cook, well, her food just wasn't up to my standards anymore. I had to let her go. Rose frowned, unconvinced. That's strange. The gateman never mentioned any family issues before, and I always thought the cook's food was excellent. Richard waved a hand dismissively. People change, Rose. Sometimes you have to make tough decisions. Anyway, it's nothing to worry about. Rose opened her mouth to press further, but caught the subtle edge in his tone. She forced a smile instead. All right, if you say so. The next morning, Rose met her friend Jennifer at a cozy cafe in town. Settling into their seats with steaming cups of coffee, Rose eagerly reached into her bag and pulled out a sleek designer handbag. Look at this, Jen. Richard gave it to me last night. Isn't it gorgeous? Jennifer's eyes widened as she ran her fingers over the smooth leather. Wow, that's stunning. Richard really knows how to spoil you. Rose beamed, her pride unmistakable. Yes, he's been so generous lately. I think things are getting serious between us. Jennifer's smile faltered slightly, and she hesitated before speaking. Rose, I'm happy for you, but I need to tell you something. I've been hearing some things about Richard, and I'm a bit concerned. Rose's smile vanished. What do you mean? What things? Jennifer took a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. Well, I've heard from a few people that he doesn't have the best reputation. There are rumors about his business dealings, and some say he's not trustworthy. I just don't want you to get hurt. Rose's face hardened, her voice sharpening. Are you serious? Right now? You're bringing this up just after I showed you the handbag? Are you jealous or something? Jennifer blinked, startled. Jealous? No, Rose. It's not about the handbag. I'm genuinely worried about you. I care about you, and I don't want to see you with someone who might not be good for you. Rose stood abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor as she gathered her things. I don't need your concern, Jennifer. If you can't be happy for me, then maybe you're not the friend I thought you were. Rose, please just listen. Jennifer began reaching out. No, I've heard enough, Rose snapped, cutting her off. Without another word, she stormed out of the cafe, leaving Jennifer sitting alone, stunned and worried. Rose arrived home, her mind still burning from her frustrating conversation with Jennifer, but her worry for her father quickly took over. She had heard about his recent accident and hurried to check on him. As she stepped into the living room, she saw him sitting there, a blanket over his legs, bruises marking his hands and legs. Her heart sank. "Father," she exclaimed, rushing to his side. "What happened? Are you all right?" Her father looked up and gave her a small, reassuring smile. "Rose, I'm fine. It was just a minor car accident. Nothing to make a fuss about. But those bruises," Rose said, her voice sharp with concern. "They look bad. Who did this to you?" He sighed, shifting slightly under the blanket. "It was a young man driver. Rude and arrogant, that one. But don't worry, it's being taken care of." "Taken care of?" Rose's temper flared. "What does that mean? We need to know who he is. We should take action against him." Her father raised a hand to calm her. "You'll meet him soon enough, Rose. I'm already working on it. He'll face consequences for what he did. I promise you that." "Meet him?" she asked, her eyes narrowing. "Why would I want to meet someone like that?" Her father's lips twitched into a faint smile. "Trust me, it's part of the plan, but let's leave it there for now. Tell me about your day. How was Jennifer?" Rose frowned, still simmering with anger, but she nodded. "I can't stand people like that. He doesn't deserve to be part of society acting that way." She took a deep breath, then reluctantly shifted gears. "Jennifer, well, that's another story, but I'm more worried about you." "I'm fine, really," her father insisted gently. "Now go on. What happened with Jennifer?" With that, their conversation moved to other topics, though Rose's thoughts lingered on the mysterious, rude young man and what he did to her father. One afternoon, Rose decided to visit Richard's office unannounced. She stepped into the reception area expecting a routine glimpse of his workday. But what she saw stopped her cold. Richard was looming over a customer, his voice booming with anger. You think I've got time for this?" he yelled. "If you're not serious, get out." The customer, visibly flustered, muttered an apology and scurried out. Before Rose could fully register the outburst, Richard spun toward his staff, his personal assistant, shrank back as Richard snapped. "And you? Why didn't you handle this?" Without hesitation, he slapped the PA across the face, the sharp sound cutting through the room. Rose gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Richard's head whipped around, and when he saw her, his demeanor shifted. Abruptly. "Rose?" he said, forcing a smile. "What are you doing here?" "What was that?" she asked, her voice shaking. He shrugged, running a hand through his hair. "Look, I'm sorry you saw that. It's just a bad day. I lost control for a second." Rose wasn't convinced. Her eyes darted to the PA, who stood silently, head bowed, then to another customer in the waiting area. A sharply dressed woman Richard had greeted, warmly earlier. The difference was glaring. "You treat people based on how rich they look," she said, her tone sharp. Richard's smile faltered, but he waved it off. "It's just business, Rose. Come on, don't make a big deal out of it." Frustrated and unsettled, Rose shook her head. "I need to get out of here." She turned and left, the image of Richard's behavior burning in her mind. As she walked away, her phone buzzed. It was Jennifer. Rose hesitated. Things had been tense between them since their last disagreement. but she finally answered. "Rose." "Hi," Jennifer said, her voice soft. "I've been thinking about our fight. I'm sorry. Can we talk?" "I'm not in the mood to go home," Rose replied, her tone clipped. "Then let's meet somewhere else," Jennifer offered. "Maybe that cafe on Elm. We can just talk, make peace." Rose sighed, then relented. "Okay, I'll be there." At the cafe, Jennifer waited with a small, hopeful smile. Rose slid into the seat across from her, and after a beat of silence, Jennifer spoke. "So, what's going on? You seem off." "It's my boyfriend," Rose started. But Jennifer cut in quickly. "Actually, I'd rather not get into your relationship stuff," she said, her tone firm but kind. "Can we talk about something else today?" Rosa nodded, setting aside her churning thoughts about Richard. "Sure." They chatted lightly for a while. Work, mutual friends, until Rose couldn't hold it in any longer. "I saw something at Richard's office." "Earlier?" she blurted out. Jennifer raised an eyebrow. "Oh, what happened?" Rose recounted the scene, Richard's yelling, the slap, his flimsy excuse. "It was awful," she finished, watching Jennifer's reaction. Jennifer frowned, then leaned back. "That sounds rough. But maybe he was just having a bad day." "It happens." Rose studied her friend's face, catching a flicker of doubt Jennifer didn't voice. "Maybe," she said slowly, "but it felt like more than that." Jennifer offered a small shrug. "I don't know him like you do. I just wouldn't want to judge too fast." Rosa nodded, sensing Jennifer's careful sidestep. She didn't push. Jennifer's reluctance to dig deeper was clear, and Rose respected it. They steered the conversation elsewhere, balancing openness with unspoken boundaries. Later that evening, Rose sat alone, replaying the day. Richard's actions gnawed at her, and Jennifer's words. "Maybe he was just having a bad day," echoed in her head. It was a possibility, sure, but uncertainty tugged at her. Was that all it was, or was there more to Richard she'd missed? She decided. Then she'd watch him more closely, note how he acted, who he really was behind the charm. Jennifer's perspective might hold some truth, but Rose needed to see for herself. With that, she committed to a sharper focus, determined to uncover Richard's true nature, whatever it might reveal. As Rose sat alone, lost in deep thoughts, her father noticed her troubled expression and approached her. "My angel, what's wrong?" he asked, concern etched on his face. Rose quickly composed herself, forcing a smile. "Oh, it's nothing, Dad. Just a rough day." Her father frowned, unconvinced. "Are you sure? You don't look like it's just that." "Yes, I'm sure," she replied, maintaining her facade. "It's really not a big deal." "Rose, come on," he pressed gently. "You know, you don't have to hide anything from me." "What's really going on?" "It's nothing, Dad." "I promise," she insisted, her voice steady. He studied her for a moment, then sighed. "All right, if you're sure. But you know I'm here to support you, right? Anything you need. I've got you." "I know," Rose said softly. "Thank you, Dad." She stepped forward and gave him a tight hug, grateful for his love and care. They then sat down to dinner together, and the evening continued with a sense of normalcy. The tension momentarily dissipated. Still preoccupied by what she had seen at Richard's office, Rose felt her father's gaze on her as they ate. Wanting to spare him worry, she decided to retreat. "I'm going to head to my room, Dad," she said quietly, standing up. "Good night." "Good night, Rose," Chief Ernest replied, his eyes lingering on her for a moment before returning to the news. In her room, Rosa sat lost in thought when her phone buzzed with a message from Richard. "Hey, are you okay? Can we talk about earlier?" When she didn't respond, it rang. "Rose." Richard's voice came through. "I texted you. Is everything all right?" She sighed. "I'm fine, Richard. I just I can't stop thinking about how you acted at the office today. I'm so sorry you saw that, he said, his tone earnest. I didn't mean to upset you. What happened? You were so harsh to your staff, she said, frustration spilling out. It's not who I thought you were. I know, he replied. I messed up. I promise I'll work on it. I'll change. Will you? She asked, skeptical. Because I don't know if I can handle that side of you. You won't have to, he assured her, his charm kicking in. Let me prove it. How about dinner tomorrow? We can talk it through. Rose hesitated, then nodded to herself. Okay, conceded. Dinner tomorrow. Great, Richard said, relief in his voice. I'll make it up to you, I swear. With his reassuring words, she began to feel more positive, choosing to give him the benefit of the doubt. The next day, Rose met Richard for dinner. He greeted her with a warm smile and handed her a small gift bag. Rose, I'm really sorry about yesterday, he said as they sat down. I hate that I disappointed you. You didn't have to get me anything, she said, peering into the bag. I wanted to, he replied, leaning forward. You're important to me. I've thought about what you said, and I promise I've changed. I'll behave differently going forward. She looked at him, searching his expression. I believe you, she said finally. Thank you for hearing me out. Always, he said, squeezing her hand. In the days that followed, Richard made a conscious effort to hide his arrogance when Rose was around. He became more cautious, ensuring she didn't witness his true nature again. When she was present, he maintained a facade of kindness toward his staff, lavishing them with gifts and attention to further win her over. One day, Rose stopped by his office unannounced. Richard spotted her and turned to an employee nearby. Hey Sarah, how's your family doing? He asked, his voice warm. Did your son enjoy his birthday? He did, thanks for asking, Sarah replied, surprised. The cake was a hit. Good to know, Richard said, handing her a small envelope. A little something for him, Rose watched from the doorway, a smile spreading across her face. Convinced of his transformation, she grew even more enamored with him, unaware of the duality of his behavior. Later that evening, Rose returned home to find her father, Chief Ernest, in the sitting room of their luxurious mansion. She greeted him warmly. Dad, how are you? She asked, settling into a chair nearby. She smiled. I'm well, my dear. And you? I'm good, Rose replied. Any news on the company proposal? Has the government approved it? He shook his head. Still no approval even after 3 months. Rose leaned forward, her voice encouraging. Don't worry, Dad. Tomorrow might bring good news. Chief, Nest's eyes brightened. If it does, I'll host a grand celebration. Family, friends, investors, close partners. Everyone will join in the joy. Rose's excitement grew. That sounds wonderful. I can't wait to share the good news. She excused herself and headed upstairs to freshen up, leaving her father to continue watching the news. The next day, at Chief Ernest's office, a knock came at the door. His assistant entered, holding a letter with the federal government's stamp. Sir, this just arrived, the assistant said, handing it over. Chief Ernest's heart raced as he hesitated, wondering if it was approval or rejection. Stay here, he told the assistant. I want someone to share this with. He opened the letter, and his face lit up with joy. It's approved, he exclaimed. The assistant beamed. Congratulations, sir. After 3 months, the housing project is finally accepted. Chief Ernest immediately called Rose. My angel, the proposal's been approved. We'll celebrate this weekend. Bring your guests. That's amazing, Dad, Rose replied, thrilled. I'll let everyone know. After ending the call, Chief Ernest dialed Chidi, the man who had helped him after his accident. Che, it's Chief Ernest. I'd like to invite you to a dinner party this weekend. Thank you, sir, Chi said, surprised, wondering what he was celebrating. I'd be honored, sir, not knowing who Chief Ernest truly is. Rose excitedly called her boyfriend, Richard. Richard, my dad's proposal was approved. There's a celebratory dinner this weekend. That's great news, Richard replied. I'd love to meet your father. Rose smiled. This is the perfect chance. We'll meet at your place after work to talk more. When they met, Rose shared the details. Dad's so happy. I want you to come. Richard's eyes gleamed. I can't wait to meet your father, Chief Nest. As Rose departed, Richard sat alone, lost in thought. All my plans are falling into place, he mused. I'll use this chance to get close to Chief Ernest and leverage Rose's connection. His bad intentions, hidden from Rose, were focused on exploiting the opportunities her family could offer, rather than any genuine affection for her. As the weekend approached, Chief Nest's mansion transformed from a quiet, serene space into a vibrant hub of activity. Decorations adorned the premises, and the aroma of exquisite cuisine wafted through the air. Guests, including family members, investors, and business partners, mingled and socialized. As Shitty arrived, taken aback by the grandeur. Is this the right place? He wondered. Approaching a nearby guest. Before he could ask, Chief Nest emerged, smiling warmly. Jay, my son, welcome. Chi's eyes widened. Sir, what this is? What is happening? Don't worry, Chief Ernest said. Today, I'll introduce you to who I truly am. I'm Chief Ernest, founder and owner of Nest Holdings. Chi struggled to process the revelation. But when we met, Chief Nest cut in gently. Our previous encounter served a purpose. When the time is right, you will understand better. For now, enjoy the evening. With that, he invited Chidi to join him on a tour of the luxurious mansion. As they strolled toward the garden, Rose and Richard appeared, adding to the evening's unfolding drama. As Chief Ernest and Chidi headed towards the garden, Rose's voice cut through the air. Dad, she called, pulling her father's attention. Chief Ernest turned to Chidi with a brief smile. Excuse me for a moment, Chidi, he said, then strode over to Rose and the man beside her. Rose, come here. There's someone I'd like you to meet. Chidi followed. His curiosity piqued. His eyes widened slightly as he took in Rose's poised presence, then shifted to Richard, who stood stiffly by her side. Che, this is my daughter Rose, Chief Ernest said, gesturing toward her. Chidi extended a hand, his voice steady despite the questions brewing in his mind. Pleasure to meet you, Rose. Rose smiled warmly, shaking his hand. Nice to meet you too, Chai. Rose then turned to her father, her tone bright. Daddy, meet Richard, my boyfriend. Chief Ernest extended his hand to Richard, his expression polite but distant. Wow, nice to finally meet you, he said, feigning unfamiliarity. Richard's hands trembled as he shook Chief Ernest's, the memory of their past encounter flooding back. Nice to meet you too, sir, he stammered, his mind racing with uncertainty. Rose nudged Richard gently, her brow creasing. You okay? She whispered. He nodded quickly. Yeah, just adjusting, he murmured, struggling to compose himself. Chief Ernest continued. And this is Chidi, a friend of mine. Richard shook Chi's hand, his grip unsteady. Good to meet you, Chi said, his calm exterior hiding his growing confusion. Same here, Richard replied, his voice tight as he met Chi's gaze briefly. As the introductions concluded, the Master of Ceremonies took the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chief Nest, he announced. Chief Ernest stepped forward, taking the microphone to address the guests. His speech began tracing his family's journey and expressing gratitude to all present. During a lull in the speech, Rose leaned toward Richard, her voice soft. Are you okay? You seem tense. Richard forced a smile. I'm fine. Just need to use the restroom. Excuse me. He slipped away quietly, his unease palpable despite his efforts to hide it. Chief Nest's voice remained steady and commanding. And now, he concluded, beaming, I'd like to invite my daughter Rose to join me on stage. The audience erupted in applause as Rose ascended the steps, her smile radiant. Chetty clapped along, still grappling with the mystery of Richard Rose and Chief Ernest, the connections eluding him. As the toast was called, glasses clinked and cheers filled the air. Rose glanced toward Richard's seat, her relief evident, as she saw him return just in time to raise his glass with the others. After the toast, Chief Ernest descended the stage with Rose, who went in to greet other family members. Chief Ernest followed suit, shaking hands and exchanging pleasantries. With guests, business partners, and friends gathered to celebrate. As he moved through the crowd, he reached Richard's seat and greeted him warmly. "Richard, good to see you again," he said, his tone friendly but edged with curiosity. "Tell me, what do you do for a living?" Richard shifted uncomfortably. "I work in finance, sir," he replied, his voice strained. Chief Ernest nodded. "And your family name?" "It's Johnson, sir," Richard said, struggling to maintain eye contact. "Johnson," Chief Ernest repeated, his gaze lingering. "Interesting." Chai watched the exchange closely, his interest sharpening at Richard's visible tension. Rose soon joined them, her tone light. "What are you two talking about?" Chief Ernest smiled at her, just getting to know Richard a bit better. He turned back to Richard, his voice casual but pointed. "You know, Richard, I have a feeling we might have met before." Richard's face palled, his words faltering. I don't think so, sir." Chief Ernest's lips curved slightly. "Perhaps not." "Well, we'll catch up later." He glanced at Rose. "Make sure Richard's comfortable, my dear. I'd like to speak with him again before he leaves." As Chief Nest walked away, Richard's anxiety surged, his mind spinning with dread. Cheetah, still observing, exchanged a fleeting glance with Richard, both men silently wrestling with the unfolding enigma. Richard's worries deepened, a gnawing sense that the worst was yet to come. Later that night, as the guests were departing, Chief Nest summoned Rose and Richard. In the presence of Chetty, Chief Ernest Nurse, who had treated him that day, Chief Nest revealed Richard's true nature and past transgressions. "Rose, Richard, I need to talk to you both," Chief Ernest said, his voice steady but grave. "Che, please stay as well." Rose glanced at her father, confusion flickering in her eyes. "What's going on, Dad?" Chief Ernest turned to Richard, his gaze piercing. "I've learned some disturbing things about your past, Richard. Do you remember the day you hit a man with your car?" Richard's face drained of color, his words stumbling. I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't lie to me." Chief Ernest snapped. Chi was there. He saw it all. "You hit me, Richard. I waste that man." Rose's breath caught, her voice trembling. "What? Dad, is this true?" Richard's eyes darted between them, panic rising. I didn't know it was you, sir. I swear." Shocked and unable to defend himself, Richard repeatedly apologized, pleading for forgiveness. He claimed to have changed and asked Rose to vouch for him. "Please, sir, I'm so sorry," Richard said, his hands shaking. "I was wrong and I've changed." "Rose, tell him how much I've changed." Rose stood by Richard, her tone firm yet conflicted. "Dad, Richard has been working on himself. He's not the same person he was back then." Chief Ernest, however, expressed skepticism, citing his research on Richard's past, which suggested that his nature hadn't changed. "I've done my research, Rose," Chief Ernest said. Coolly, his past suggests otherwise. "I don't trust him." Despite this, Rose continued to advocate for Richard, emphasizing the importance of giving people a chance to redeem themselves. "But Dad, you taught me that everyone deserves a second chance," she pressed. "He's trying to make amends." The conversation concluded with Chief Ernest warning Richard that if he hurt Rose, he would face severe consequences. He stated that he had forgiven Richard, but emphasized that this daughter's well-being was paramount. "Richard, I'll give you a chance." Chief Ernest said, his voice low with warning. "But if you hurt my daughter, you'll regret it. I've forgiven you for what you did to me, but Rose's well-being is my priority." Richard nodded, relief tinged with unease. "Thank you, sir. I won't let you down." Chi remained silent, his eyes tracing the tension in the room, unsure of how to react. After Chief Nest's departure, Rose confronted Richard, her anger and disappointment palpable. "So, you were the one who hit my father with your car and you never told me?" she demanded, her voice sharp with accusation. Richard defended himself, claiming he didn't know the man he hit was Rose's father. He pointed out Chief Ernest's disguise at the time of the accident, implying that his poverty-stricken state had led him to be treated poorly. "I didn't know it was him, Rose," Richard said, his tone urgent. "He was disguised as a poor man. I thought he was just some beggar." Rose's annoyance turned to frustration as she rebuked Richard for his past actions. "Is that how you treat people?" she shot back. "You hit someone and just leave them because they're poor." Richard, however, insisted that he had changed and become a better person, attributing his transformation to his relationship with Rose. "No, my love, I'm a changed person now. All thanks to you and our love," he said, his voice softening, trying to soothe her and win her over. Seeking to mend fences, Richard returned to Chief Nest, offering a heartfelt apology for his past actions. He pleaded for forgiveness, claiming his intentions were pure and that he had genuinely changed. "Sir, I want to apologize again for what I did," Richard said earnestly. "I was wrong, and I'm truly sorry. My intentions are pure, and I've changed." Chief Ernest, while forgiving Richard, remained cautious, still uncertain about Richard's true motives and whether he had truly reformed. "I have forgiven you, Richard," Chief Ernest replied, his tone reserved. "But I'm still not sure about your motives. Time will tell if you've truly reformed." After the dinner, Rose sat alone in her bedroom, her mind consumed by the revelation about Richard's past, the image of her father being hit by Richard's car. Despite his vulnerability, replayed in her mind, filling her with doubt and heartache. She couldn't believe the man she thought she knew could commit such a heinous act. Her thoughts swirled with uncertainty, and she wondered if she had misjudged Richard entirely. Seeking clarity, she picked up her phone and called her friend Jennifer, her voice heavy with emotion. "Jen, can you come over tomorrow? I need to talk to you about something important." "Of course, Rose," Jennifer replied gently. "I'll bet her." The following morning, Jennifer arrived and Rose shared the shocking truth about Richard. "So what's going on, Rose?" Jennifer asked, settling beside her friend in her bedroom. "I found out that Richard was the one who hit my dad with his car," Rose said, her voice breaking. "And he never told me." Jennifer, familiar with Richard's history, revealed more about his troubled past, including how he had manipulated and exploited someone, leaving them devastated. "Oh, Rose, I'm so sorry," Jennifer said, her tone sympathetic. "But that's not all. He's manipulated and exploited people before, leaving them devastated." Rose's heartbreak deepened as she absorbed Jennifer's words. "Why didn't you tell me all these earlier?" she whispered. "Remember how I tried telling you the first time you told me about him, Richard? And we ended up having a fight with it. And ever since, I didn't want to interfere," Jennifer admitted. "But now that you know, I think you should be careful." Rose turned to Jennifer, her voice filled with regret. "I'm so sorry, Jen, for not listening to you when you first tried to warn me about Richard. I should have heard you out and taken your concerns seriously." Jennifer's expression softened, understanding in her eyes. "It's okay, Rose. You loved and cared about him, and I get it. But I'm glad you're seeing the truth now." Rose nodded. On Sunday morning, Chidi sat alone in his modest apartment, the soft hum of the city outside barely audible. He stared out the window, lost in thought, his coffee cooling untouched on the table beside him. His mind was consumed by the enigmatic Chief Ernest. How does a man like that pull it all together? he muttered to himself, marveling at the chief's wealth and influence. The memory of the mansion lingered in his mind, its opulence, its grandeur. But more than that, he couldn't stop thinking about how Chief Ernest had orchestrated the dinner invitation, fully aware that Richard Wash's daughter's boyfriend. He knew exactly what he was doing, Chi said under his breath, shaking his head. But why? Meanwhile, at the mansion, Rosa sat in solitude in her bedroom, the morning light filtering through the curtains. She hadn't slept, her thoughts wrestling with the events of the previous night. After hours of reflection, she had made up her mind. She needed to distance herself from Richard. Her phone buzzed incessantly with his calls, but she ignored them, staring at the screen until it lit up again. This time she picked up. "Rose, thank God," Richard said, his voice thick with urgency. "I've been calling you all morning. We need to talk about last night." "I think we need a break," Rose cut in, her tone steady and firm. "I need space to process everything that happened." Richard's voice faltered. "A break? Rose, please don't say that. I can explain it all if you just let me." "No," she replied, unwavering. "I've thought about it, and I need this. I need time, but I don't want to lose you," he pressed, desperation seeping through. "Can't we figure this out together?" Rose took a deep breath, her resolve solid. "I'm sorry, Richard, but I've made my decision. Please respect it." There was a heavy silence on the line before Heffenley spoke. "Okay, if that's what you need." "It is," she said softly, then hung up. At the bank, Richard sat in his office, deep in thought. He drummed his fingers on the desk, his mind racing. "I need Rose back," he thought, his eyes narrowing. "She's my ticket to her family's wealth. I can't let this slip away." He considered gifts, jewelry perhaps, or a lavish trip, but quickly dismissed the idea. Rose has everything. Her father's money has seen to that. No, he needed something more convincing, something that would make her believe he was sincere. After weeks of persistent calls, texts, and messages, Rose finally responded. Her voice was cool and direct when she answered. "Richard, I've been thinking. If we're going to reconcile, you need to meet your parents." "Tomorrow?" No notice. Richard froze, his grip tightening on the phone. "Tomorrow? Why so sudden?" "I want to see the real you," Rose replied firmly. "Meeting your parents is non-negotiable. If you're serious, you'll make it happen." Richard hesitated, his mind scrambling. "All right," he said slowly. "We'll fly out tomorrow morning." As soon as the call ended, Richard dialed a number he hadn't called in nearly a decade. His mother's voice came through, tentative and surprised. "Richard, is that you?" "Yes, it's me," he said curtly. "I need you and Dad to do something for me." His mother's tone shifted, a mix of hope and confusion. "What is it, my son?" "I'm bringing someone important to meet you, a wealthy woman. I need you both to pretend everything's fine between us. Move into my house, the one across from yours. Make it look like you live there." "Is that why you called?" Richard's mother asked. "You couldn't even ask our well-being if we're alive or dead." There was a pause. "But Richard, we haven't spoken in years, and this is what you have to say. And your house? We've never even been inside. Where's the key?" "Break the front lock," he instructed coldly. "I'll fix it when I get back." His father's voice cut in gruff and suspicious. "Why the rush, Richard? What's this about?" "Just do it," Richard snapped. "Don't ask questions." His father hesitated. "All right," he said reluctantly. "We'll do as you ask." But after the call, Richard's parents sat together, unease settling between them. "After 10 years of silence, he calls for a favor," his father muttered. "No explanation, just demands." "I'm not pretending for him," his mother sighed, her hands clasped tightly. "You're right. We'll stay in our own house. Let him deal with the consequences." At the airport, Rose met Richard. her expression guarded. He stepped forward to hug her, but she sidestepped, her voice clipped. "Let's just go." The flight was tense, their conversation sparse. Richard's attempts at small talk. "It's Annis Day for flying, isn't it?" were met with Rose's stony silence. Upon arrival at Richard's family home, Rose's eyes widened in shock. The house was dilapidated, its paint peeling, windows cracked, a stark contrast to the modern mansion standing opposite. Richard, sensing her dismay, quickly spun a lie. "My father built this house as a legacy. He refuses to demolish it, even though we have the new one." But when Richard's parents emerged, their tattered clothes and weary faces told a different story. Rose's heart sank as Richard introduced them. "Rose, these are my parents. They might be coming back from the farm." "They love farming," Richard said, forcing a smile. Before she could respond, Richard's mother stepped forward, her voice trembling but resolute. "My dear, we've lived in this house our whole lives. Richard built that mansion, but never let us set foot inside. He's ashamed of us." Richard's face palled. His words caught in his throat. His father added, his tone heavy with sorrow, "He abandoned us long ago." Rose turned to Richard, her voice shaking with anger. "All you've done since I met you is lie and mistreat people. How could you abandon your parents in such a state?" Richard stammered. "Rose," his father interrupted, his gaze steady on Rose. "My daughter, if this is the man you want to marry, I advise you to run for your life." Rose's eyes filled with disgust as she looked at Richard. She turned to her driver. "Take me to the airport." Before leaving, she approached Richard's parents, her voice soft with concern. "Stay safe. If you ever need help, please call me." She handed them her business card, then faced Richard one last time. "Our relationship is over. You're just a greedy man trying to take advantage of innocent people. You've been after my family's wealth, but I won't let that happen. Don't ever contact me again. If you do, I'll fight you with everything I've got." With that, she entered the car and drove away, leaving Richard standing alone, his schemes in ruins. Richard glared at his parents, his voice laced with bitterness. "Thanks to you both, I've lost my chance to never be poor again." His father shook his head unmoved. "You brought this on yourself, Richard." Upon returning home, Rose collapsed into tears, her sobs racking her body. Hours later, when her father arrived, he found her with swollen eyes, her face etched with pain. "Rose, what happened?" he asked, rushing to her side. She poured out the entire story, her voice breaking. "He lied, Dad, about everything. His parents, they're suffering because of him." Chief Ernest wrapped her in a warm embrace. "Don't worry, my dear. The best is yet to come. You'll find true love. And I'm glad you uncovered Richard's true nature before it was too late." His words soothed her, and slowly her tears subsided. A flicker of hope stirred within her, the promise of better days ahead. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit the like button and subscribe for more captivating tales.